the HASLAB Sentinel box. But that was so last year. So let's do this. And let's just talk about Galactus. Cue the intro. Getting the slide off. I cut it at the bottom so I could pull it up. Oh my gosh, look at that. This is really well packaged. Everything's in here so you can see it. And then you got this plastic cover right here and looks really, really cool. Let's just pull this. This is actually really cool. So there's Marvel's Morgue. Looks really cool. There's Frankie Ray and all her accessories. And Silver Surfer. And then of course you got Galactus's ears and the Silver Surfer sled. Let's just set these off. All right, so he's got this brace point here and he's got these brace points here. I gotta tell you, when they make these like styrofoam packs, I think they do a really good job of being able to hold this guy in place. This is your standard paper that you get pretty much in all those non-box figures. Let's just take a look at this guy. Oh, that looks cool. Okay, right on the back of Galactus's head is this piece here, and all you gotta do is pop that off. Then there's a little screwdriver thing. It takes a Phillips. You just pull that off, and the AA batteries will go right in there. All right, surprise. Unlike the Sentinel, you do have to add batteries to the Galactus head, which are just under that skull cap and right here. So it takes 4 AAA batteries for this figure. Okay, so forgive my hands if they're not steady, but I want to just go up and down this figure and look at it. And look at the face on that. Looks awesome, right? And if you look in there, no, you can't really see, but if you look in, say, this eye right here, you can see the iris right there. It's painted, so when it's lit up, you get that little bit of darkness in there. So here you got the face and the ears and the crown, and then as we go down, you can see the details on this are fantastic. This guy looks actually really, really cool. I was saying like about 4 days ago I wasn't that excited about getting this guy, but it's kind of interesting how you say that, and then when you have him in your hand, it's a totally different story. Check it out. Here it is, Galactus with his lighting kit. And if I zoom in here, you can see the eyes and how they illuminate, and that little pupil in there looks really, really cool. Then of course there's some flashing. These lights actually stay on, I feel like, much longer than the Sentinels did, which is kind of nice. In a minute, but if you have an idea of how to turn the lights off instead of just waiting for them, please let me know, because they do interfere with the camera a little bit. So let me just do some articulation. You can see his head basically will do an entire, well, not 360 with some modifications, and it goes up and down. And if you look at it underneath, it's got the swivel point here. Listen to this. So that ratcheting right there in the joints, right? That's a clear indication that they knew there was a problem with the Sentinel and the legs, and they added that ratchet to the joints to sort of fix that. Check this out. So even in the leg has that ratchet, and the thing is, you can see it in the back there. So that's going to help hold this guy up from falling over like the Sentinel did. And it's all the way down, even into the feet has that ratcheting, and the leg has some movement there, so you can pose him in kind of like a walking position potentially. You can see he's got all the same pretty much articulation in the hand and the fingers, so he can make his fist. He can grab, all that kind of stuff, and that looks pretty good for a gigantic figure. He does not have any swappable hands because he doesn't need them, because he's fully articulable in the hands. I do wish a little bit that his head would tilt back a little further, but even flipping that around doesn't get his head to tilt back a little further, so he doesn't really look up at all. But that's okay, because he's really meant to look down, because everybody else should be so much smaller than him. All right, so here's how they kind of stack up against each other. Well, so now I have the Galactus and they're back to back, and you can see that the Galactus is clearly a couple of inches taller than the Sentinel. So we're looking at the boot sizes, and I'm pretty sure the Sentinel has an edge over the Galactus, which is kind of good for Galactus, because if he can stand with a little bit smaller foot, that is actually fantastic. And as we move up, we got the Sentinel has these gigantic hands. So already we got giant feet, giant hands for a much smaller dude. And then of course you got the head, and they're much different because of his crown. So here are the hands, and you can see there's a lot more realism in this hand. Of course, he's not supposed to be a robot, so I really like what they did there. And you know, just because you're on my channel, we want to see what that Sentinel head kind of looks like on Galactus, and there it is. If you wanted to see what the Galactus head looked like on top of the Sentinel, it doesn't really stay, but there you have some idea of what it might have looked like. Look at that. There's the Doctor Doom head. It looks really good. And let's just pan back so you can see what Galactus looks like with that Doctor Doom. And it does look pretty good. I'll probably never keep that head on there. Okay, as we know, we got these 2 extra face plates for that Doctor Doom head. And this is pretty much how you get that out. So you have the face off, and see how it is inside? You basically just pop that out like that, and then you just slide in the new face like that. And that's how you get like an alternate face piece on there. You just pop it out and then drop that one. So that actually looks really, really cool. Okay, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate you hanging out with me while we looked at the Galactus and the Sentinel side by side. When I was younger, I had the Shogun Warriors, and that is the height of the Shogun Warrior compared to these figures. So you can see this figure right here does not compare to the height of these, so these guys are gigantic. Oh, and don't forget, have a fantastic day, everybody.